Oh, I love doing Thursday night aerobics. That
There you
was some
go.
good exercise right there. Hey, folks, welcome to Caching in the Northwest. You know, this is the podcast from the birthplace of geocaching right here in the great Pacific Northwest. Now, it's Thursday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, and they call me Chris of the Northwest. And we're going to talk about geocaches and geocachers from here and all around the globe. So, while you're dealing with holiday guests that have overstayed their visit, we'll be caching in the Northwest.
If your holiday guests are still around, you might want to think about some new plans, maybe.
We've personally turned off the heat in the house.
That works. That
Mhm.
works. So it's effective in most cases. But yes, it's Thursday night, and tonight we're not talking about house guests. We're talking about one of our favorite podcast guests. Video viewers already recognize Brian Roth, president of geocaching.com.
Hello,
Welcome.
everybody.
Oh, we're so glad to have you back. We're excited to hear what geocaching.com has planned for 2025. It's going to be a great year. Listeners, give us your feedback. Jump in the chat. I see it scrolling by. It's great. Stay tuned. Find out all the details from Mr. Roth himself. But first, it's time to bring in our ageless ape. Some say when he was born, only the doctor cried. And others say he's so old.
How old is he?
He's joined a dating service for people his age called Carbon Dating. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
Hey, guys. Good to be here. It's Thursday night. It's nice and early on a Thursday night. So clearly Jim is feeling his oats tonight. It's good.
It's
looking-
early, so old people like us can get to bed on time.
Well, I liked ageless ape. That's a really nice way of saying immature. That's awesome. All right. Quick reminder before we jump into everything, and man, I am excited to have tonight's conversation. But before we get going on that, we want to remind everybody how much we appreciate the support of our patrons who help to keep the podcast coming each and every week. Thanks to Land Sharks, one of our corporate Denali level sponsors. And hey, I was talking to Helen just a couple hours ago, and I was getting the scoop on what's going on at Land Sharks and what she wanted to share. And here it is. They are regularly placing special orders from HQ. So if anyone wants a, let's say, Bigfoot cache, they can bring it in for them. You just need to email the office at sharkz.ca and give your order to Diane. So when you send it to that email, it'll be Diane who answers that email. And if it isn't, I mean, still give your order. They put the orders in maybe once every 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how many requests, how much volume, and they bring in enough to cover the shipping costs. So they try and wait till there's enough coming in. But if you want something, phone, ask. They're going to try and stock some of those Bigfoot caches. So they may have 1 or 2 in the Shark store for anyone who drops by. You can always call and check to see what's in stock if you want to know for sure, and then order and pay online, and they'll just set something aside for you, even one of those Bigfoot caches. All of that is available online right now at landsharkz.ca. So there you go. There's the news from Helen.
So it's apparently very easy to find Bigfoot. I don't understand all these shows that are, have multiple seasons. They never find anything.
Or Treasure on Oak Island. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. The same thing. Discovery Channel doesn't discover all that much.
No, surprisingly. But hopefully we'll discover lots tonight talking with
Okay.
Brian. So looking forward to that.
Bigfoot believes in Land Monkey too.
One of the 3. That's awesome. Cachly is our other corporate Denali level sponsor, and Cachly is the premier geocaching app for iOS. And we've got a little bit of news on Cachly. Chris, did you want me to roll right into that?
I thought we would just cover some of the highlights. There was a Facebook post because we've asked on the show, hey, we're excited for CarPlay in Cachly, and what's happening. Well, his post this week says, "Why does CarPlay development take so long?" So I think he was listening. If you just want to hit the highlights,
yeah, sure.
You want to do it? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah. I'll just jump in real quick. So, a breakdown the key steps. There's a whole bunch of key steps here. My goodness. So, at least as Chris said, go check out the Facebook post, and I'll give you all the deets and help you understand why, despite the fact that we've been taunting him every week. It is still taking a while to get done. There's, you got to start with just getting permission, CarPlay permissions, and Apple needs to approve, granting permission of this. Is this an app that they want to have in their wheelhouse, pardon the pun, of CarPlay apps? There's all kinds of components that need to be built out. I won't go into those by detail. But there's cost barriers as well that Nick has to work through. Commercial solutions can be cost prohibitive, and so he's got to spend some time finding the right options there. There's some programming details that I'll skip past, and then just sort of the fixing the bugs, beta testing, implementing the fixes, and then final testing and release. It is a very comprehensive process, and that's good, because if you want an app to play in CarPlay, you want quality in that app, and it takes time to develop a quality app. So I think that's the moral of the story, and that's what Nick has shared. If you want the details, by all means, please go check out that Facebook post. But if you want to know more about supporting this here podcast, well, why don't you head on over and click that Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website.
Oh, thank you so much. I know that was exhausting for you, Land Monkey.
This show is exhausting for me. I'm just about done.
Well, one of the reasons we moved it up 2 hours is because of how old Land Monkey has gotten this year. He's older than he's ever been. So just as a reminder, the show now starts at 7 p.m. Pacific time. If you want to join live, of course you can watch it, listen to it anytime you want through your feeds, right? Now, Brian, I just want to let you know that Starcacher may have been somewhat stalking you lately. He says this is the 4th podcast I've seen or heard Brian on in the last 2.5 days. So he's going to need a vacation after this.
I think he means Brian is going to need a vacation.
Well, that's yes.
I mean, thankfully, I just got back from a vacation mid last week, and so I'm ready to go, and hopefully it's not too repetitive to hear different aspects of it. I'll try and say it in different ways every time, whatever it is.
Go.
Well, I've been
Brian,
buried in a project at work, so it's all news to me.
Yeah, same. Brian, is it one of those scenarios where you came back from your vacation, walked through the door, and Rock Chuck grabbed you by the elbow and said, "Okay."
In fact, I got back on Thursday late night. I think we had to go pick up our dog, who was at a trainer on Bainbridge Island, which is a ferry ride, back and forth. And we got back to the house at about 11:30. And I believe that the next day I did the podcast with Chris in the morning. So almost, but I knew it was coming. It wasn't like it was a surprise.
Yeah.
It was on my calendar, so I was prepared. And of course, I knew that we were going to be sending out announcements and some information on the 14th. So the clock was ticking.
Indeed.
But I'm well rested. It's a good
Good.
family vacation. All good.
Nice.
Very good. Well, thank you. Folks, if you want to ask Brian any questions, use the hashtag news right there in the chat, and our very own chat lackey will make sure we see that. And of course, go ahead.
Chris, it's funny. I just had a thought that I thought, I want to ask a question. And so I just started searching around looking for the little place where I clicked to raise my hand.
You've been in too many work meetings.
Oh, I have definitely been in too many work meetings.
That's why we use hashtags here. This doesn't work.
It works so much better.
Well, it doesn't work for some.
It's funny, in some of our senior leadership team meetings, occasionally somebody is remote and there's a bunch of folks in the room. And so we'll often have like the big screen up top, and then a few people have laptops open, but not everybody. And so invariably somebody wants to contribute, but you don't want to step on anybody's toes. And so it's a little silly, but the sound when at least in Google Meet, it's like bloop. So we're like bloop to get everybody's attention. And it's just like a little running joke in the
That's
meeting.
awesome.
And it's effective. It's a little silly, but hey, this is it's all about fun anyway. So just another way to have fun.
And you can't have a company meeting or any work meeting, without someone saying, "Oh, by the way, you're muted."
Yeah.
we've all fallen victim to that. And at this point, it's been so many, a couple of years post COVID.
Right.
It's like, we know we should all know better. And it's like, it's like you're muted. And it's like, okay,
I can't believe that.
thank you. I can't believe it was me this time, but
Right.
But
it's
what
happened to
gets me all the
everybody.
time is the apps where the app has a mute, but your hardware has a separate mute, and they don't connect.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I unmuted. Oh, yeah, well, software doesn't, so it doesn't matter.
That's true.
Brian, the
Brian.
question I wanted to ask. So the reason I was going to raise my hand.
Boop.
Since I've already
I knew that was
disrupted the podcast. Boop. Yes, indeed. Do you mind sharing where you went on vacation?
So me, Heidi, and the kids, we met my brother and his wife and daughter and one of his daughter's friends. They're in New York, which is where I'm originally from. And so we met in Mexico.
Mm.
Last year we try and go away with them. It's been the last 4 years, just an opportunity to see my brother, as often as I can. And last year we went to Florida. And Florida, from the Pacific Northwest, as we know, is quite a ways to fly.
Mhm.
And, New York to Florida is like just a couple hours. And so we said, hey, any chance we can meet a little more in the middle? And they said, well, how about Mexico? And what was cool is all of the kids now on my side and my brother's side, they're all in college. And so we went we went after New Year's. And one of the things, it's the first time, my son's first year freshman first semester freshman, first year freshman is the same thing. But what we realized is for the first time now is when you don't go away, over Christmas or over New Year's where everybody is traveling, everything's less expensive, everything is less crowded,
Mhm.
and it was lovely. And it's like, oh, I don't have to go back to the crowded trips. The kids are old enough. And so it was a real treat, just good quality family time. And we rode ATVs, and we got to go on a sailboat, and we saw whales, and it was wonderful.
Awesome.
It's funny because we all, it's like take a break from work and whatever. For me, that means like doing stuff, but still sort of knowing what's going on here. So
Right.
I check my emails and Slack just to stay in touch. I'm more relaxed knowing that everything is sort of under control. Not that it gets out of control, but like things do happen. We've had floods in the kitchen and things like in the Signal Cafe from time to time. And so knowing that everything was good allows me to relax just a little bit more.
There you go.
And prepare for some podcasts.
Back-to-back podcasts.
Back-to-back podcasts. It's great. I love it. It's I was saying, somebody was asking me today, like, what do you think? Is it hard? I'm like, it's one of my favorite parts is like getting to go out and talk to people in the community, and obviously with the audience that shows up. It's just I love to hear the questions and to be able to share what it is that we're doing or how we're thinking about things and what the plans are, what we're excited about. That's not hard. It's like,
Mhm.
here's what it is. I know it because we're living it every day. And so getting
Yeah.
to share that with people who are curious and folks who care, and it's great. It's really a treat.
Cool.
Nice. Well, I was going to, introduce you and saying that you need no introduction, but we're well past that. And it's just one of those things that, like, how do you respond to that? Here's somebody who doesn't need any introduction, but I'm going to give you one. So if we look back, it was 98 weeks ago that I think we talked to you last on our 500th episode. So
Episode.
98 weeks ago.
Yeah,
98
live
weeks.
event. Yeah, we're up to what?
I mean, that
500
was super cool. That was a lot of fun. I mean, if I recall correctly, like audio challenges, not exactly withstanding,
Right.
but it was great. It was great. And again, it's a friendly audience. That was a
Mhm.
lot of fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I remember a few things, but one of the things I remember is somebody made cupcakes.
That would be monkey cakes.
That'd be monkey cakes. Yeah,
Okay. Those
Yep.
they were
they're always amazing.
yeah,
Oh,
those were really amazing.
that's a highlight.
It
There you go.
stands
Now-
out 88 how many weeks?
98.
Yeah.
It stands out. The cupcakes have been
Oh.
embedded here for 98 weeks. Those are long-standing cupcakes. Yes, Catherine, but
But
who's
who's
counting?
counting?
But who's counting?
So now there's going to be a demand for monkey cakes, cupcakes at every event coming up. Now it's like, oh, Brian Roth talked about these cupcakes. They must
Mhm.
be amazing.
Yes. Try like a little commercial. It's like try monkey cakes,
Yeah.
cupcakes. They'll stick with you for 98 weeks at a minimum. And now it's legend. Listen, in your in your 10,000th episode, we'll be talking about the monkey cakes.
Oh
I know
yeah.
it. Well, I mean, look at what's happened with what is it, zingers? Those
Yeah.
like Twinkie like things.
Mhm.
There's a little bit of a geocacher following around those. I understand. I've
Oh,
had one or two at an event from time to
Hmm.
time.
That I don't know about.
yeah. That's a
Oh,
new
okay.
one.
I'll have to do more research on that. I know about it tangentially because I've been handed them by groups of people that are all eating them together, and I didn't exactly ask why. Sometimes you just eat the zinger or the Twinkie or whatever it is, or the
Yeah.
monkey cake, as the case may
And say,
be.
I probably haven't had a zinger in 50 years, but I know what they are.
Yeah.
I'll have
Wow.
to
There you go.
investigate this.
Well, this is fun. I like chatting. And just so you know, after that episode, the 500th episode, I went out and bought all my own audio equipment so that no matter where I go, now I'm in control of the audio and that echo will never happen again. So
All right.
one thing I don't want to talk about tonight is how fantastic a workplace Geocaching HQ is, because yet another year, Outdoor Magazine has named geocaching one of the 500 best places to work. So it must be boring, showing up day after day to such a wonderful office with fabulous coworkers. It's just, I don't even really want to talk about it. I mean, we've had you on the show too often to talk about this topic.
It's so I'll clarify that it's top 50, not
Oh,
top
top 50. I'm
500,
sorry.
which is
Yeah.
no worries, no worries.
That's
It
even
used to be
better than top 500.
it used to be top 100 a few years ago. I think they made the change without much fanfare.
It's
And
shrinkflation.
for us, like, it's about the people. I mean, you folks have met the lackeys, and
Yeah.
we're just so fortunate to all get to work together, and us and with the broader community getting to do what we do. I think if the only benefit was sort of getting to work with geocachers in support of the global gaming community, we might still be rated high enough to make the list, and tack on a few benefits like drinks in the kitchen and
Yeah.
and things like that, bagels on Mondays and some other fun stuff. But it's it's been 24 years for me, and I had a conversation with somebody over lunch today, and we were talking about like some of the old offices and some of the lackeys. I actually this past weekend I was at a brewery with my wife and dog and another couple with their dog is my dog's sister, so same litter and whatever. And I was in the brewery and I looked across, and there was two former lackeys who I think they're a couple now post HQ, and really just phenomenal people. Oh, really wonderful. But it was so nice to see them and kind of to reflect, like, one of them was one of our very first, like, we had an intern group when we first built Where I Go, and they
Mm.
were called the Where I Go Media Group, and they were basically building like proof of concept cartridges for Where I Go in the very early days when obviously we
Wow.
were focused on Where I Go. And here we are so many years later, and it was just lovely to see them. But I think there's stats somewhere, and I don't have them in front of me, but I think we have 93 or 94 lackeys now, and over the years there's been over 250 lackeys.
Wow.
Wow.
And so, out around the world, there's some certainly quite a few present ones, but there's also ones who have gone on to do other things. And
Sure.
it's yeah, that's
And
just keeping the bonds, just surrounding yourself with great people. Like it's one way to build a really fun work culture. And we're just fortunate, I think, getting to do what we do, as a company, especially in Seattle. Like, here we are, and there's Amazon and Microsoft and Adobe's across the street, and Google's in the building, and Salesforce is across the street. And there's so many businesses that are like, come on in, we're doing M&A deals, and we're doing IPOs, and we're looking to be bought or sold, or all those things. And
Mhm.
when we get people coming in here, we say, well, we're a bootstrap company. We've never raised any outside funding. We don't intend to. We're not looking to be sold. We're never going to do an IPO. Like, what do we want to do? We want to do what we're doing. And so it attracts a certain kind of person, because there's people out there, of course, that are looking for the job that's going to get them the stock options that turn into a gazillion dollars and whatever. And, we've I think we've talked about this before, but there's so many ways to measure success in business in
Mhm.
general.
Mhm.
And for us to measure success based on the impact that we can collectively, you folks included, have on the lives of millions of people around the world, the fact that, okay, we can make a living, pay our rent or mortgages or whatever it is, and get to do this, it's a tremendous form of success. And so I think attracting the kind of people that understand that, that are excited about it, and a lot of people stick around here for quite a long time, which is absolutely wonderful. You look at Boutron, our head of engineering, just this August hit 20 years. And I
Wow.
remember when we hired him, he came in and his first project was to build waymarking, which is, still going. And,
Yeah.
we hit 1 million waymarks and all that, but it's a great place to work. I feel really fortunate just to get to be
And
here among the lackeys doing the work that we do. And so, yeah, there's a lot of great places to work out there. This is one of them. So
and you
we're
do
happy
find
to be on the list.
you do find
14
great,
years in a
great
row.
people.
We find great
Mhm.
people,
I've
and
I've
great
never
people
met a
find
lackey that
us.
wasn't amazing. So
That's it's wonderful to hear. I feel the
as
same way.
as Kitty Quiz says, we all know the lackeys aren't lacking.
Lackeys aren't lacking. That's funny. Seattle is a pretty neat place. That's true. I see that in the
Sure.
comments.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It really is.
All right. Well, we don't want to keep the listeners waiting too much longer for the news. And as you say, Brian, like this, some of this news has already been shared out. But I think we're also curious maybe to dig in a little bit more, because well, you've had the opportunity to share it, and we should probably recap, because I think Jim and I aren't 100% clear on what it is yet. Some of us just work too much. But before we jump into that, I know Chris had a question for you about the year past. Chris, did you want to lay into that one first, and then we'll get into the news?
Well, so we're excited to hear what news is coming in 2025 here, and that's the whole purpose of this. But what do you consider a high point of 2024 for the company?
High point of 2024. It's tough to really come up with one high point. Um, I would say just doing the normal work that we do, while also recognizing sort of that we're approaching 25 years.
Mm.
And just sort of there was, I can't say it was like a light bulb moment, but almost like a crescendo here where, different departments are thinking like, hey, what can we do? Like, how are we going to celebrate? What are the things that we're going to do to really, as much as we try every year to um, create joy and delight the community and do fun things like, hey, it's 25 years, like, can we step it up a little bit? What are the things we can do? And knowing that we're not doing a block party in Seattle for a variety of reasons, but just looking to say, well, okay, without doing a block party, how can we still celebrate with the community? And so things like, GIF is going to be back, having the CCEs, having the block parties, the block party icon available is one. And then obviously what we just announced on Tuesday, which has been like a year-long project. And so just as excited as we normally are as a company to do what it is that we're doing, to see the recognition among the other lackeys, for me, that like, oh, 25 years is special. 25 years of being bootstrap company supported by premium memberships and shop purchases and the folks at Landsharks and the work that Cashly does and the podcasts and the blogs and the vloggers and all of that stuff, this ecosystem that we have co-created, collectively built, is 25 years, about to be 25 years old. The first cache being placed, the thought that happened, we're approaching May pretty quickly, and the thought that 25 years ago, a guy named Dave Ulmer put a box out there, and look at what has come from that. And so seeing here at HQ this spirit of like, how do we honor that? This isn't about just lip service, like, hey, 25 years, let's, put a little banner on the website. This is like, how do we celebrate with the community? How do we acknowledge what we have all created together? How do we set ourselves up for future excitement? And so it's not sort of a high point moment, but that's like a high point theme that 2024 has represented, is like just the acknowledgement of how far we've all come, how many changes have occurred over time, and the opportunity that we have to go forward and keep doing this. If you had asked me 25 years ago, or even 22 years ago, like, hey, what do you think it's going to be like in 25 years? I would have been like, 25 years, like, I'm going to be quite a bit older then. Like, I don't know, how could I possibly know? But when people ask me now, what do you want to see 10 years from now? All right, 10 years, from a technological perspective, I have no idea. Things are, with AI and different tools, that it's pretty interesting. But what I want to see fundamentally, foundationally, is I want to see more people getting outside. We want to see more people, you folks, we want to see more people getting outside, finding ways to have fun, build community, have adventure, challenge ourselves to do things that maybe we weren't too comfortable doing, pushing ourselves outside of our comfort zone, and having more fun in life. And so if we collectively can be part of the catalyst or the inspiration for making that happen, well, then 10 years from now, if we're successful in doing only that, well, then again, we're all successful. This is a successful ecosystem, company, podcast, community, etc.
Gosh, it's great to have you on. It's like running into an old friend and just catching up and talking all night long.
I feel
Unfortunately,
the same way.
we don't have all night. We're and our
Okay.
listeners are going, "Hey guys, when's the news?" So
Tell
I
us.
think we've adoed all we can up to this point. So without any further ado, what is Geocaching HQ excited about in 2025? Give us your news.
So the sort of the big news, aside from the things that folks know about, and I don't think that we recently announced that GIF will be back. There are over 100 mega/giga/block parties taking place, and that is quite a few more than there has ever been historically. I think the most we ever had in a year, and I may be just a little bit off, it was about 62. And now we're at over 100, 102, 103, something like that. So that's really exciting. And we just announced a new feature set for geocaching, for the geocaching platform. It's called Treasures. And the basic concept is treasures represent the kind of things that you might find in a geocache. But we've suspended disbelief a little bit because they're digital. So we're not limited by let's say, physics or physical capacity of a geocache. So, for example, you can find something extremely large in a microcache. And what we've done with treasures, we're releasing it in March. That's the plan now, assuming everything goes according to plan. It doesn't always, but so far so good. We will be releasing in March the first of many collections of treasures. And so a collection of treasures is basically generally a thematic collection. I think the first collection has 5 items in it. There's a theme to it. I don't want to spoil any of that, but each collection has its own, almost like a combination lock of geocache types that you need to go find in order to find one of those treasures. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a second, but when you get a treasure, unlike marketing campaigns in the past, we did Mystery at the Museum a few years ago, and you collected gems. But you could look at the map and sort of see where the specific, you could do searches and you could see, where are these gems? Where are these gems? I'm going to go to this cache. I'm going to get the gem. Now we have, for each collection, we have a lot of different dials. And so the parameters that we can set to build sort of that combination lock. And when I say combination lock, I mean like multi-caches, difficulty 2, terrain 3, with a minimum of 4 favorite points that has been placed in 2021. So that's a very specific. So if you want to go get treasures in that collection, those are the caches that you have to find in order to get one of those treasures. Now, there's additional functionality there where, and to start, it's going to be easy. The intro collection is going to be, hey, everybody, we want you to find, if you go out and find 5 of a pretty broad array of caches, you will get 5 treasures. You will complete your first collection, and that will unlock the next collection. And so some of the other parameters that we can play with is we can say, hey, this collection is only available to people who have found more than 500 caches or more than 10,000 caches, or it's available only to people who have found less than 100 caches. We can say that within a treasure collection, we could say, of the 5 pieces, when you go find one of these caches that meets the qualifications, you're going to get the first 4 of those treasures will be easy. And the last treasure has odds, so has a randomness generator. So it's only you can log caches of that type, but that treasure is only going to be awarded or found 10% of the time, 50% of the time, 75% of the time. And so with all of those dials that we have in constructing these collections of treasures, we have the ability to do something that we haven't had the ability to do in the past. And so historically, when we've had marketing promotions, summer marketing campaigns, it's go out and do this and you can earn a souvenir. Go find this many caches or this type of caches or caches on these days, and you can earn a souvenir. One of the challenges with that is it was one size fits all. And so we would do something, and the next morning there was 500 people who were like, we did it last night, like, great, thanks for the summer promotion. And then there were other people who were like, oh my goodness, this is too hard, I'm never going to do it, I'm only going to do a little piece of it, so give me the easy souvenir and I won't get sort of the full complete souvenir. And so what we can do with this, and what we know, is that people want to be challenged. We don't want it to be easy every time. And so for those folks who are, say, more casual players, we can put collections out there that are not too difficult to complete. But for those people who are like, hey, that's too easy, like, don't give me the easy stuff, we could put out collections that are extraordinarily difficult, extraordinarily challenging. We could put out collections, I said the intro collection has 5 items. We could put a collection out, and I've used this example before, but like, there's 90 something lackeys. Each of us has an avatar. there could be a collection of lackeys that, all right, who's going to find that in one day? Well, it depends on what that combination lock, like how do we specify the requirements for that collection? So some collections, we can make collections available only if you have a specific souvenir. So you have to earn a souvenir in order to unlock a collection. So we could create, create collections that are prerequisites for other collections. We can, trying to think what else. There's some other dials. We can and will at some point have a collection that's only available for premium members. Premium members have helped support the site. We are where we are courtesy of their generosity and support. And so we can have collections that are available only to premium members or basic members or charter members. Not that we would distinguish between charter members or premium members, but that's something that we can do. And so under the hood on this feature set is really a lot of functionality. And so what we're very excited about for 2025 is we're just getting started. And to be clear, this isn't just for 2025. Like, this isn't a marketing promotion that's going to be done 2 months from now. This is something that is going to be, ideally, assuming everybody doesn't hate it, and we have to turn it off. And look, we've had those we've had those challenges, no pun intended, before, where we've learned some lessons. This comes obviously from a lot of engagement and a lot of thinking about it. And we've been talking about this project for years, and we spent the last year building it. And now we're just delighted to so here, a good question from Catherine. They can be both. So the question is, are the collections each going to be for a limited time availability? Will they be perpetually available once released? Because they can be both, our plan, at least at this point, is to have most of them be perpetual. Because why not? When I wish I could go back and do some of the old marketing promotions. Like, we can't make them available because the systems and the way they were built were so complex that we had to change a lot of things. We had to put it into the system and then take it out of the system.
Yeah.
This now sits on top of the system and allows us. So you can imagine in a year from now, somebody joining can say, "Oh, I guess one step back to start the intro collection, the starter collection will be available to anybody who has 3 or more finds," which I'm sure that's not a concern for anybody in this audience.
Probably not.
But the goal is really, like, we don't want to disrupt a new player sort of onboarding and figuring out the game by just putting, hey, you found a treasure. Well, what are you talking about? So 3 to start. And then, the intro collection, the goal is to have it available in perpetuity so that, somebody who starts a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, if you start 3 years from now, the goal is to have, okay, you have to do the intro collection first so that we can teach you sort of the basics. But once you've done it, 3 years from now, I'd love to see, 25, 50, 150 collections available that people can say, oh, I want to go focus on this one. I want to go focus on that one. And it won't be the case that if there's 10 collections that, like, you go out and you log any cache and you're getting something from every collection. We will be limiting, like, you can only focus on 1 collection at a time or 2 collections at a time. And we're not quite there yet, but we don't have that many, we're going to start slow with a few collections. And look, this is V1. This is the first version of this. We're going to release it. We hope it works as expected. We've done a lot of testing, but that's never really a guarantee that everything's going to function 100% properly. But assuming that it does, well, then we're going to be looking to put more collections out there. It's altogether possible that we'll have a time-limited collection. Hey, everybody's got a month or 2 months to get this one, or a week, or a year. But we can also have collections that just continue on in perpetuity.
Brian, do you see this as possibly integrated into the summer promotion? Like, you could have it for that, summer period of time. We're going to do this collection of treasures.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. It is a possibility,
Hmm.
whether we do that this summer or next summer or a following summer. I couldn't tell you offhand, and maybe marketing has some more plans or insight. But
Right.
the I think it'll be really interesting to see, we're launching it with a few particular use cases, but one of the things that we have learned from the global geocaching community over 24 plus years is that invariably the community is going to show us how else it might be used and what
Right.
else we can do with it.
Right.
And so what are the ideas?
Hmm.
What do you see? What do you like? What don't you like? How can we make it better? Like, those are questions that we will be asking because we're taking a long-term view on this feature set, and the goal is to delight the community.
Right.
One of the things that I've thought about for a while is, like, in the early days of geocaching, most of the caches were like these big boxes with trinkets and toys, and it felt a lot like a treasure hunt. It's
Hmm.
like, oh, what
Right.
did we get? And for kids, look at the treasures. You can
Yeah.
trade one and leave one for the next kid to find, and do it fairly, and all the lessons in that. But over time, there's so many different caches. Like, you can't put something in a micro cache. You just can't. But now we can, kind of. So you imagine the experience. You go pull the magnet off the back of a sign, and you twist it and unroll the little paper, squeeze your initials in there, twist it back up and put it away. And, like, that's an experience. But what if you also just found the fifth treasure in the collection, completed the collection, and all of a sudden that moment that has become sort of, everybody understands what that moment is. Well, we're trying
Mhm.
to add a little more to it. Like, what if it's like, oh, I got it. Like, I got the thing that I was trying to get. And all of a sudden that experience that was sort of how it's felt for 20 plus years now feels a little different, and it's a little more exciting. And maybe it's not for everybody, but based on what we've seen from the community, there's a lot of potential for people to be excited with these things.
Yeah.
Imagine, you can, let's say, virtuals, webcams, earth caches.
Mhm.
There's no trade items. There's nothing stopping us from putting treasures. When you log
Right.
the cache, you can get one of those treasures. And there's just a lot of possibilities. And so we're going to experiment. It's
Right.
V1.
Hmm.
It should work. If it doesn't work, we'll fix it. But there's been a lot of time and effort put in by a lot of lackeys here at HQ, and there's a lot of excitement just to see what folks do with it. Do
Hmm.
we enjoy it? Is it motivating? Does it make people want
Right.
to say, like, and it's not just about going out and, like, I'm just going to find the closest caches to me. If you want to collect the treasures, you're going to have to look, and there will be, when we launch, um, in your profile page on web and mobile, you will see a little treasures banner, treasures button, and when you click on it, it will show you the available collection, the starter collection to begin. And when you complete that collection, and when you click on it, there's different buttons to get for information, but it'll say, in order to find treasures that are part of this collection, here's sort of the requirements. It
The
needs to
criteria.
be
Sure.
here's the criteria. Here's that combination lock, and you can see it, and you'll be able to say, oh, okay, I need to go look for this size, this many favorite points, those kind of things. And then people will be caching deliberately. And for some people, it's like, hey, I've already cleared out my area. Now I'm really going to have to work to get these
Hmm.
treasures. Another
Right.
another one of the dials that we can turn, and I'll say we don't have any plans to implement it early on, but we can have treasures by city, by
Mm.
state, regional, like regionally based treasures. So we can say, like an animals of the world collection, for example, could be, there's only kangaroos in Australia. So if you're not caching in Australia, you don't get the kangaroo until, and one of the things to note is that each individual treasure is a unique item in the database, almost like
Mhm.
trackables. And so in the future, and this is not ready yet, and it probably, I don't think it will be ready this year, but in the future, we could have collections where you don't just collect one of each of them, but maybe we allow you to collect three of each of them or five of each of them, and then share them. You can send them to your friends. Maybe not send them. Maybe you have to meet them at an event and
Or
tap
trade
your
them in
phones
some way.
together to
Mm.
trade them, or
Right.
maybe even put them in caches to say,
And
oh, I'm going to put one in a cache, and then it's guaranteed in that cache until somebody goes and picks it up.
and we all
So
know
there's
if you get two rabbits, there's no such thing as two rabbits. So
indeed,
Brian,
indeed.
there's a ton of great questions
Great.
from our
Let's
audience that
go.
I really want to try and make sure we get to with your time.
I
Yeah, there's
yeah.
that one from Brent there that I want to address. But before we get into that, there's something I want to just I need to wrap my head around here, and maybe you can help me because I'm hearing two different words, and I want to understand how they work. And I'm hearing the word treasures, and I'm
Mhm.
hearing the word collections. And how do those two words work in this program, Brian?
So collections is basically a thematic bucket of treasures.
Okay.
So there could be a celebrating 2020, celebrating 25 years of geocaching collection. And it could be, five treasures that are essentially like artifacts of geocaching. There could be I don't know. That's sort of the best
Okay.
example. So
So treasures are
treasures
the
make up
individual
collection.
things, but they come in collections.
Correct. That's
Okay.
correct.
There,
And just to be clear, one of the distinctions that I've been asked to draw, the difference between treasures and souvenirs is
Mhm.
important. So, a souvenir is an award that you get for finding, any cache in a specific region or on a certain day, or doing a CETO during the CETO, weeks,
or attending a
Mhm.
those
mega,
periods,
or yeah.
Yeah.
or attending a mega. Exactly. So those are awards. Digital treasures are really meant to be the digital representation of a physical item that you could find in a cache. But again, because it's digital, you can find in a small cache
Mhm.
container, you could find a full-size Mars rover, for example. Like, we can suspend disbelief, and there's some excitement about getting to play with that. Like,
Mhm.
imagine I think the audience could probably think of some really fun collections, and we'll be asking. I mean, okay, we've asked ChatGPT for some ideas also, and there's plenty of those, and the lackeys have plenty of ideas, and then it's really about creating the art, creating sort of the collection, applying the theme, and making it available to the community. So there will be a lot of that taking place over the next few years. That's really the plan. So the question was searchabilities.
And I
Yes.
think you've answered that actually quite well. If you'll allow me to reiterate, you've got to search for criteria, and those criteria will suit a cache. So if it's difficulty, if it's type, um, if it's
Yep.
number of favorite points, location, what have you, whatever those criteria are to meet, that's how you're going to search and find one of these treasures.
Yes. So, premium members have access to some advanced filtering on the
Mm.
website.
Hmm.
And if you use the website, you can put those filters in. One of the things to note, and right now we can't do this on mobile because there's a deep linking challenge and whatever. But on web, when you look at the treasures and it shows you the collection, there will be a button for premium members that it will be like, show me caches that meet this criteria.
Nice.
So we're going to
Nice.
make it really easy. It's a premium feature, but again, just trying to show our gratitude to premium members by
Mhm.
making it more fun and more easy. So that's, that button, I've played with it. It makes it really easy because, you could go and you could type the filters into the website and that'll work, but doing it in one button click makes a huge difference.
That's awesome. That sounds like definitely a value add. Um, Brian, I'm curious, and maybe this has been shared and I missed it, but where are we going to see the treasures? Like on the web page or in our apps? Like a lot of us cache using apps.
Yep, they will be. So for starters, They'll be on your profile in the apps. There'll be just a little, like, there's the bar for souvenirs. There's a few bars in profile. One of them will be treasures, and you can click on that and it will take you to the treasures pages. On the website, same thing in the profile. And we'll probably, I don't know that we've thought far enough ahead to figure out where in like the top level nav it will be or anything like that. But in your profile, that's where you're going to find the links to the treasures.
Very cool.
Nice.
Peachy asked a great question. And you said something earlier that made me ask the same question in my mind. Can people work on more than one collection simultaneously?
In theory, yes. So the plan is to allow people to do that, but it will still be limited. So, it's probably not going to be more than 2 or 3 collections at one time, because we want people to focus deliberately. Like if you're caching casually, it's not like, oh wow, I just got a treasure. Like we want it to be like, hey, you're treasure hunting. Like you're looking for these treasures. You are deliberately. So in the early stages, there will be a limited number of collections, and so you'll complete the intro collection, and I think that there's 1 or 2 more that will be released. And when you complete those, I think it might be this sort of like not a monthly schedule, but like every so often we will be releasing more collections. And depending on sort of the uptake, if people are really enjoying it, well then that's a signal to HQ that, hey, dial it up, put our foot down, let's get more of them out there. And then it's just a matter of like all of the other things that we have to do throughout the year and balancing priorities and resources and things like that. But that's the truth. Yes. Impact on hiders. Can they request treasures? What if they have to archive caches with rare treasures in them? So here's what's interesting. It's a great question. The treasures are not in the caches. So I can't show you on a map, here's where you're going to get a treasure. What I can tell you is that caches that meet that qualification, when you log them, we're going to go to the database and we're going to check, and we're going to say, are any collections available for this? And if so, randomly, 1 through 5 of those treasures, you're going to get one. And so archiving caches doesn't really, no treasures will be lost in that way.
Unless that was the one cache that had the right combination in your area.
I mean, yeah, that could be problematic. It certainly could. And, that's probably the extent of it. So if it's if it's a very difficult sort of combination to, in order to get those treasures, well, then those are presumably fewer and farther between. And that's part of the challenge. And so for the people who are like, I want to be the first one to complete this, well, you might have to work at it. It's not going to be easy. Some of them will be easy. Some of them will not be easy. And that's you're welcome. That's a gift, because I know, people want challenges. People don't make it too easy, because then it just gets boring. And so, it's like the things that you really have to work for, like the first person to find like a super rare treasure. And again, we're not starting with that, but think about future state, first person to find a super rare treasure. And, maybe that shows up on Project GC, like who got this one? And it's like, hey, I have a feeling of accomplishment. I worked at this and I did this, it was difficult and I completed this collection. I'm one of, very few people, or I'm the first one in my region or my country or whatever. And we know that there's people out there that think about it that way. Another thing to mention,
go ahead.
You were saying, where can we find this? So one of the questions we've been asked is like, how about Cachly? Is Cachly going to have this? Is Project GC going to have this? Or some of the API partners? And the longer term answer is yes, of course. They are part of the ecosystem. We want people to have access to this functionality within those platforms. The timing is a little bit up in the air, because one of the things that we don't want to do is we don't want to release this sort of on everything and then find out that we have to fix something. And we've now,
Yeah.
hopefully we haven't broken everybody's apps. We're not going to break our own app, but like, hopefully we don't do too much damage. And so we will be communicating with API partners and we will be getting that set up. I can't imagine that it's going to be live at launch with partners, but I think it's a really fast follow, and we recognize that that's an important way that we want to support the API partners who are supporting the community as well.
Brian, as an extension on Doramore's question, does HQ think that this may affect how people hide caches? Like if people know, oh, this is the combination, I'm going to intentionally hide these caches that meet that qualification to draw people into finding my caches.
It's certainly a possibility. One of the things that we've talked about at HQ is we want more caches in 2025. Caches are sort of the lifeblood of the game. So we want more people out there. We've talked about it, in the past, but like we want to inspire people to place caches. We also want to figure out how to make the cache hiding process a little bit easier or more intuitive. And so that's a big project that will be taking place here over the course of 2025, is really improving the process around hiding caches with a goal of making it easy for people to hide caches so that there's more caches out there for us to play with. One of the things that we've talked about is having a collection that the treasures can only be found in caches that were placed in 2025. So I think that will do exactly what we're talking. People will be like, oh, well, we need some of those caches in my neighborhood, and let's get them out there so that people can come get the treasures. I did see the question about, does it have to be a find as opposed to a note? And the answer is yes, it must be a find. Revisit with a note. Revisit with a note would make it too easy.
Right.
Because for the people who have, if you've got 20,000 finds and you say, oh, well, I just need some of these, which are the caches I've already found? Let's go log notes so I can get the treasure. That's not really what we're looking for. So it has to be a find. Yeah. And the DNF isn't going to work also, because if you don't find it, you shouldn't be able to get a treasure out of it. Again, if we're thinking about sort of the physical representation of it, and also like, yes, I understand that we're suspending disbelief when it comes to like earth caches, because how do I find something at an earth cache? We do have earth caches as a possibility, or virtuals or something.
Right.
Like
and that answers Udak's question. They don't have to be a physical container to contain a treasure or to have a treasure.
They don't have to be a physical container, but when we release collections, we're going to decide, do we want to have a collection for events? Maybe not. I'd say definitely not to start. But over time, can we have treasures available in event caches? 100% we can. Whether or not we do, again, there's so many different dials that a lot of them we're not going to mess with in the first 6 months or the first year, because we really want to see, like, what is the community looking for? Like, is it too easy? Is it too hard? How do we find the balance so that there's ideally something for everyone?
Very cool.
Starcacher asks, will the treasure be tied to a geocache? For an example, every cacher that finds that particular cache will get that same treasure. If the dials are right, if the criteria is right, Wits End, Land Monkey, and I go out, we all find this particular cache we're looking for. Hopefully that's the one we're looking for, and it's going to hold the treasure for the collection. If we all log it, are we all going to get that treasure?
The answer is it depends. And here's what it depends on. If it's the intro collection where each treasure has 100% probability of being found, then the answer is yes. If each treasure has 10% probability of being found, then no. But also, if you have if it's the intro collection and there's 5 items in that intro collection, for example, and the 3 of you all find the same cache that meets the qualifications for that collection, you might get 3 different treasures. because they are randomly selected. But the way that the logic works is if we say, well, you can only get one of each, then if each of you have collected 1 through 4 and you log the same cache and it's 100% probability, you'll all get number 5.
It's like looking for that one Happy Meal toy you want.
I mean, and so that's the potential of it. So we
Right.
could say, there's if we did all the lackeys, for example, we could say, the probability of finding a specific lackey in a cache as a treasure either increases or decreases with the tenure that they've had there. So maybe, finding a Brian treasure would be 5%, and finding, the treasure for a brand new lackey would be 95%. We haven't really, we have the functionality. We haven't really discussed the nuance of how we play with it, but you can imagine the possibilities. Brian treasure, hey Brian, double Brian treasure. But you can imagine the possibilities of how we could sort of create these experiences to challenge people. And that's the plan. That's what we're going to do with it.
Keats asked, would we expect to see challenge caches with treasure requirements?
No, I
Okay.
don't believe so. I don't believe so. And that is because there's obviously a lot of complexities with challenge caches, but particularly, and if I understand this correctly, one of the requirements for challenge caches is you need to be able to know what caches you have to find in order to be able to complete the challenge. And because treasures could have odds, there's no guarantee that a particular cache will give you a particular treasure that conflicts with the rules for the guidelines for caches. So my understanding is that is not a possibility at this point in time. I can't tell you what the future holds, but for right now, the answer, the Tuesday challenge cache podcast, I think I disappointed everybody when I told them that, but look, that's the answer as we have it now.
Cool. Good to understand.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Lots to wrap our heads around with this.
Yeah.
And I'm sure,
Yeah.
Brian, you mentioned that there's going to be more information forthcoming. This all launches in March.
Yep.
So
early March. Assuming everything goes according to plan.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
We won't hold you to a
I
specific
feel
date.
like I have to keep caveating that. Listen, we fully intend to make early March, so something would have to go legit wrong for us to fall short of that. But it happens,
You're
we're
probably
trying to
not
be
adding
pragmatic.
CarPlay capability at the beginning of treasure.
No. We are
Right.
we are not.
Brian, does that mean then that maybe on the official blog or other official sources, then you never know, week after week, maybe there'll be a little more information that comes out to help round this out?
Absolutely. There will be, I want to say it's probably some information coming out in early to mid February if I've got sort of the release schedule right, and I may be off, give or take a week or so. But the plan is to help people understand like how it's going to work and how they can play and what the intro collection is going to look like and what the mechanics look like. So yeah, it's we're going to try and the primary goal in the beginning is to make sure everybody understands how it works and everybody can go have an intro experience and see like, oh, that's what it looks like when I log a cache and I get the confetti because it's my whatever 100th find, and I hit the confetti button like 50 times because I like the patterns, and then oh, congratulations, there you go, confetti. Then it's like, hey, congratulations, you found the first treasure in the 2025 intro collection, and it's great, you got it. treasures for yummy cupcake. It could be its own collection.
There you go.
Different cupcakes. Collections could be anything.
Monkey
That was
part of
brings
the
a
fun.
collection of cupcakes when she does bring cupcakes. So
I was gonna say that was Mr. Monkey Cakes, by the way.
Sounds great.
Very cool.
Cool Cow Cacher says a challenge to complete X number of collections should fit the guidelines.
I am not an
We're gonna put
expert
Brian
on
on the
challenge
spot.
cache, but I'll say, and I had to sort of admit this 2 nights ago, but like challenge caches are not one of the aspects of the game that I personally
Right.
focus on. I
Right.
did find one a couple weeks ago after some conversations and realizing that I've been eligible for it for a very long time, and it's like 5 blocks from my house, and I should find it. But I couldn't tell you much about how challenge caches work. And so what
Right.
I would say is let's launch this, let's get it out there, let's start playing with it, and then we can consider, I say we, but not me. The team can consider, what's possible and what's not possible.
The collective you of Geocaching HQ.
The collective us here at HQ, yes,
Uh,
can sort that out.
A question very early on.
That's the one, Cliff. Yes, the
So-
100 t-shirts
Yep.
challenge while
Okay.
walking
There
my
you go.
dog.
He says, now I have to wonder if it was targeted for a beta treasure that was in it.
Yes, it was.
Ooh, there you go.
You bet it was. And that's it was targeted because we've been, I found a bunch of treasures in the last couple of months, and lackeys have been testing it. We've it's actually pretty cool. I'm excited for everybody else to get to see it because I've gotten to play with it, and I've gotten to play with sort of preliminary versions of it. But now that we're sort of getting the final polish on it and sort of making some final decisions about flow and gameplay and everything, it's really exciting. We do these treasure tests, and it's live for like a week, and lackeys are going out and doing them, and then the test ends, and it's not on my phone anymore, and I'm like, all right, when's the next test? Like, for me, like I'm excited about it. I'm excited for everybody else to get
That's
to see
great.
it. Yeah.
Now, okay, I have, you just popped something up in my mind. I know it's going to be integrated into the geocaching app. Is there any concept of this coming outside of the app as another avenue to get people into geocaching?
I'm not sure in what way. Like, give me an example.
It would be location based, but you go to a location and maybe check in and find a treasure rather than finding a geocache. I don't know. It just, you said it's not on my phone anymore. I was like, oh, it would be like a separate app. But
Well, I'll tell you that we are actively discussing how we might incorporate treasures into Adventure Lab,
okay.
as an example.
Mhm.
And really, given the nature of the platform and how it
Mhm.
works, we could potentially incorporate them into waymarking if we wanted to do that. So there are some opportunities there. First things first.
Sure.
Let's get it working with
Yeah.
geocaching. Let's get people playing with it. Let's figure out, where the bugs are, if any, and where sort of the preferences are, and how we might adjust to meet those. But future state is kind of a blank canvas, and really exciting because the way that it has been built is there's so much functionality under the hood. And I think even, like when we were talking about before, like when you see a collection on the web for starters, and it's like, oh, how do I find this? Oh, there's a button already built for that. Like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And how do I see the ones that I've already collected? Like, I don't want to spoil it too much, but there's a nice little display for them. And I'm not going to say how it's done, but you'll get to see it in a month and a half or so.
Fun.
Now, how, this is a softball question, right? How are people going to find out more about treasures in the upcoming months? Where's the place they should go?
I would say, for starters, geocaching blog, the blog and the newsletter. If you're not signed up for the newsletter, sign up for the newsletter. Those are primary communication tools that we have. And then if you're following some of our social profiles on Facebook and YouTube and X, and maybe not for much longer TikTok, we will be announcing that information. We'll just, we're going to get it out there,
Right.
probably using all of the channels that we traditionally use to get information out.
Very cool. Well, Brian, I'll tell you, if you want to if you want somebody to consult with on how to build a Canada location specific collection, just give me a call. I'd be happy to
Okay.
throw some
Okay.
ideas out.
That's some ideas also. Sounds great. I mean, it's fun to think about,
Yeah,
and
it is.
really, it will be even more fun to think about once you see what they look like, and once you
Mhm.
see how they
Mhm.
show up, and what you need to do to go get them. And our hope is that this brings joy and delight to the community. And it's not often that we add. We do marketing promotions every year. We make adjustments. We have experimental features in the app.
Mhm.
We are making changes, but it's not often that we add something that's really a big feature set. And this is a big feature set. So can't wait for people to play with it and let us know what they think.
Very cool.
Brian, thank you so much for coming on this evening and talking so passionately about the new features coming into geocaching. I certainly appreciate it.
It is my pleasure, really. I always appreciate getting to come on this show and get to talk to you guys, and get the questions from the audience. And I'll say we've got a really exciting year ahead as a global community. And I hope to see everybody out there playing and at the events and on the trail and all that. And I can't wait to come back and talk about the cupcakes.
Ah,
Mel on the Move says, I'm really enjoying the epic Brian Roth press tour.
So am I. I really am. It's been a lot of fun. The It's exciting.
Mhm.
I'm excited. So getting to answer the questions and hopefully help people understand that there's 2025 is going to be a lot of fun. So
yeah.
clear your schedules and get ready to go caching and attend events, and let's celebrate 25 years of this game together.
Too fun. Too
I
fun.
just went to
Very
my
cool.
first CCE this weekend, so more to come.
There you go.
More to come. A lot more to come.
Well, I think it's time that we take a moment to thank Landsharks and Cashly, our corporate Denali level sponsors. Landsharks.ca, the outdoor adventure and geocaching store. Check them out online, and they're shipping those online orders daily. So, as we said off the top, give them a call, send them an email, and tell them what you want. They'll get it arranged for you. And Cashly is the geocaching app for iOS. And if you are still curious, geez, when's that coming out on my car? Well, as we said, go check out the Facebook post from Nick and you'll learn all about that. We also want to thank all of our faithful Denali level supporters, of course, Landsharks and Cashly, but also Cool Cow Cachers in the chat tonight and Hawaiian Miley. And folks, if you want to know more about supporting this here podcast, click the Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website.
Yeah, just like these fine folks did. We'd like to thank Terrible Tees,
LG 9000,
Lost Ken,
GeoBirder,
MC3 Cats,
Kitty Quest,
UDAC,
Kid Vegas 19,
Limax,
U Talks to Rocks,
just finding our way.
Flagman,
Korsgat,
I lost my spot. J-Car,
GeoNevPro,
CRS 98,
just Carlo,
BC Rockcrawler,
Wet Coaster,
Genies,
Dora Moore,
Gas Station Tuna,
the Cupcake Queen of the Camp Clan,
Logwork,
Seebeck Tribe,
Mountain Bike,
Skyhawker,
Boomer 365,
Green Words,
Butterfly Girl,
Subway Mark,
Antaeus,
B Pendragon,
Team Noltex,
Trexer,
Railroad,
Ackerdoc,
Whidbey Island Gal,
GSM times 2.
M-Nerf,
Peach of Washington.
And speaking of lackeys who lack nothing, geocaches.
Yeah, we got a lot of great lackeys in that list, and a lot of
Sure appreciate the support.
kind of great patrons.
Yeah.
So thank you so much again, Brian. If people want to get in touch with you directly, is there a way they can do that? Or
Sure, contact me through Message Center. It's my username is Brian with a Y, and then my email address is brian@geocaching.com. It might take a little while for me to reply because I get a lot of
I
email,
can imagine.
but I will do what I can to get back to folks.
Can't imagine
awesome.
you've caught up from your vacation email yet.
Right.
No, no, not yet. There's some folks waiting since perhaps before my vacation, but we'll get there.
That's the beauty of email. It will stay there and wait for you.
Indeed.
But folks,
Asynchronous communication.
exactly. Folks, I want to thank you for taking this time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Your support helps keep the quality shows coming. So if you like the show, please click the Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website. And if you didn't like the show, I don't know how you could this show, but it's possible, right? Let us know what you want us to talk about. But if you like the vibe, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and give us a review. If you were in a restaurant, you would tip. If you were on in a live audience, you would clap. But since you're on a podcast, leave us a free, fast, fabulous, fantastic 5-star review. Of course, you can call into 253-693-TFTC and leave us a comment, ask us a question, or help us find a treasure in one of these collections any time of the day or night. And of course, you can email us at feedback@cachingnw.com. Join us every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Pacific for a live show and chat. The show is produced by Chris Umfenauer, Jim Paulwitz, Jay Kennedy, and Brian Lang. It's licensed under Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2025 by Chris Umfenauer. And folks, I ask you to stay tuned for the after show. Apparently is very quiet tonight.
Yeah.
But
What do we got?
the Fatasses aren't. We've had lots of comments.
There's been a few comments in there.
Yeah.
I'd
We
like
had,
to, yeah, go ahead.
Well, it was nice to see Chris at North 48 CCE and mostly lose at bingo. Sounds like you're a good sport there, Chris.
Well, I won twice, but and I was sitting right across from Caching Cans, and it's amazing how bingo goes, right? Somebody can have their card nearly full and other people have nothing.
Yeah.
Huh. How do numbers work actually? I don't quite get it.
Kind of like finding
sorry.
treasures.
Sorry.
Thank you again. Appreciate it. I'm going to go home and go to dinner.
Right.
Cheers.
Thank you so
Happy
much.
caching,
Cheers, Brian.
everybody.
Hi,
Happy
Brian. Thank you so
geocaching.
much.
Good night, Brian.
Yeah, some people aren't at home already. So there you go.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, he was in the office.
Sorry, Chris, somebody had pulled a different one up.
How many hamsters? Oh,
Yeah.
Lori of the Seebeck tribe hosted their own CCE last Sunday. We played bingo. Make your own card from 75-ish words.
That's a different way
That
to do
would be very interesting.
it.
It was silent so many times we're playing. It's strange strange from cashers being quiet.
Yeah.
I really wanted to go to that one, and I went up to the one up north, and I was going to drive over, and I'm like, wow, that's a 2-hour drive. And, I stayed at the one a little too late. And so, Lori, I apologize. I really wanted to get to yours, and it just didn't work out. The caching day changed for me.
It happens.
Nonetheless, I'm glad you had a great time. I saw your pictures. I think I knew everybody there. So, let's see. UDAC says, and it's nice to see Brian in the podcast circuit
Mm-hmm.
for this 25th anniversary. Expected to see Rock Chalk or another lackey.
Wow, surprise.
Yeah. Keith says, I miss the days when Land Monkey could read out all the names in one breath.
I'd be impressed anyone who could read that out in one breath.
Well, it just shows that as Land Monkey gets old, he's becoming decrepit, and his lungs just don't have the capacity they once had.
Get off my lawn.
It's nice not to be the only decrepit one here now.
Right?
Yeah. That's why we moved the podcast up 2 hours.
Remember, I'm older than both of you, so.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, here's the last Fatas. Hawaiian Miley is always late to the party.
Well, we're glad you made it.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here.
All right.
Well, that was a long episode,
That was a lot of content,
but
and
it was
a
good.
lot of fun.
Yeah, it was exciting.
So, folks, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was going to tell Brian, but he's already gone. I was just going to state for the record that I, am not always been a fan of everything that Geocaching HQ has rolled out. I'll just put it that way. But I am looking forward to these changes for 2025. It should be a fun year. That's all.
I mean, I remember how exciting it was at Mystery at the Museum, right? And hey, I got the gem I was looking for. Yay.
Yeah, I didn't do that one.
That's a treasure in a collection. If you want to look at it that way.
Okay.
So
That's a way of looking at it. Okay. Yeah.
But it was, yes, I'm out finding geocaches, but I had a purpose. Let's skip that one. Let's go to the next one, because that's got the gem I need. Right. So, I don't think we'll be able to do that in treasures coming up, but I think it'll add that same level of excitement. So it'll be interesting. I know I'm babbling on and I shouldn't. GSM times 2 says, it's a feature that Geocaching HQ has added. Some people will love it. Some people will hate it.
Yeah.
So, but it's another aspect, another facet of the game.
Yep.
Play with it as you will.
Focus on whatever you like.
Exactly.
Cool.
And folks, until next week, get out and get catching those treasures. Well, not yet, but soon. In the Northwest.